It's Thursday, the 21st of September 2023. Welcome to the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson and Jennifer Duke. Good morning.
Good morning, Michael.
Jen, we have 5 stories to race through in 5 minutes, so let's get cracking. Story number 1, the federal government's employment white paper is going to be handed down within days, and it's going to tell businesses exactly how the government intends to bridge the skills gap that's really holding back the nation right now. But it's also going to spark a fight about migration and housing supply, and that threatens to be a powder keg for the government.
So there are several policy areas that are going to be the focus of this white paper, and we'll finally get to see it on Monday. It's going to be a map that the government's going to use for the National Skills Agreement and the Universities Accord, but as you mentioned, there's going to be this major focus on reforming the migration system and plugging our skills gap.
So how's this migration debate going to play out?
So right now there's about 430,000 job vacancies advertised in Australia, and the Institute of Public Affairs is warning against, and this is a direct quote, the same old lazy approach of unplanned mass migration to fix worker shortages, particularly at a time we have a shortage of housing. And AMP Chief Economist Shane Oliver is saying that with 500,000 extra people per year via migration is going to exacerbate housing problems. He says this needs to be slashed to 200,000 people a year to match building industry capacity and reduce housing demand.
Yeah, and that debate's going to get even more heated after some new data showing home building is slumping badly at the moment. Of course, your day job, Jen, is as economics correspondent for Capital Brief, so I'm assuming that you'd be thinking about the implications of this?
It's a very good assumption. So the Housing Industry Association's latest figures show that housing starts for the nation's top 100 builders fell to 57,830 in the year to June. And that's the lowest we've seen it in a decade. And the concern is that immigration, if it's not managed well, becomes a lightning rod for public anger over housing.
All right, on to story number 2 now, Jen. And Victorian Premier Daniel Andrews is slugging short-term holiday rentals with a 7.5% levy on earnings. It makes Victoria the first state to do this, to put a levy like this in place.
Yes, it's a new Airbnb tax, and it's going to hit more than 36,000 short-stay accommodation properties in the state, and about half of those are in the regions. Andrew said that the tax is modest, and while it wouldn't be universally popular, he thinks it strikes the right balance. That's between those who want short-stay accommodation banned completely and those who think that any charge is too extreme. Now, the revenue raised from this levy is intended to be given to Homes Victoria. That's to help fund the building and maintenance of social and affordable housing, and Andrew said that the people who rent the short stay properties will be those ultimately paying the charge.
Story number 3, Jen. Tesla Australia and the Commonwealth Bank have teamed up. The new partnership is for financing of the electric vehicles and is part of a big push to increase EV uptake.
So CommBank's announced it is now the preferred finance provider for Tesla, and it's offering discounted interest rates for buyers of that specific brand. Now, according to their statement, the bank has backed more than $50 million worth of eligible sustainable product purchases for retail customers, and that's since October last year. Now, they've researched their customers and they found some interesting statistics. So 64% are eager to buy an electric or a hybrid car, but that's only if they get a financial incentive to do so. And for business customers, 40% are intending to use EVs or hybrids in the next 6 to 12 months. And that's compared to less than 15% right now. So it's a really big growth market.
Story number 4, love a good property story, Jen. 1 in 10 homes bought and sold within a 2-year time frame, right, is selling for a loss, apparently. Now, these short-term resale losses are up from just 2.7% last year on CoreLogic figures.
So first of all, this still means that the vast majority of homes sell for more than they were bought for, even in the short term. But when you're factoring in selling costs, stamp duty, and potential investment taxes, this is a really interesting figure. And bear in mind, there has been a lift in home values pretty recently. So CoreLogic notes that the portion of homes being sold in the quick turnaround period is also up, though just slightly, by about a percentage point over the last year, which means that more sellers are willing to take a hit, and it might be due to high interest rates.
How much are sellers losing out of interest?
So CoreLogic found that the median hit for someone who makes a loss was $30,000 for those short-term flips, but the median profit was $75,000. And the majority of these losses were owner-occupiers selling houses in capital cities. But also interestingly, there was an unusually high portion of regional properties that were selling after these short holding periods over the last year. In actual fact, they now make up 11% or so of resales, and that's up from a decade average of about 7%.
All right, last one, story number 5. Qantas CEO Vanessa Hudson has been asked to head to mediation in person with the head of the Transport Workers Union, also in person, alongside a small contingent of lawyers to decide on compensation for the airline's 1,700 unlawfully sacked employees.
So this case was back in front of a judge yesterday, this time in the federal court, following the High Court's decision last week to uphold the case against Qantas. Now, right now, the airline and the workers have to get together to work out how much compensation is appropriate. The union wanted open court rather than mediation, saying that it would improve transparency, but the federal court says that's more expensive and resource intensive. So instead, mediation is going to begin next week. And, as you mentioned, the judge has specifically requested that the highest levels attend. So that's no more than one senior and one junior counsel, 2 solicitors, and Hudson in person, and Union Secretary Michael Caine. So Qantas actually wanted their in-house legal counsel to attend instead, but the judge knocked this back to maximise prospects of coming to a settlement.
Well, look, it would be fantastic to be a fly on the wall for that one. There we go, the top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you, Jen.
Thanks so much, Michael.
It is Thursday, the 21st of September, 2023. Remember to hit follow on the podcast. And if 5 minutes isn't enough, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed Business News, wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.